Hello, you're listening to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, presented by Brandon Elliott. This show will be going over all aspects of real estate investing and is intended to educate, motivate, and prepare you to take action on your first or next real estate investment. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Brandon Elliott. I'm excited today. We have a special guest in the house. He's actually on vacation right now with the family for the next month, so not in the regular studio, but still such a blessing and an honor to be able to have him with us while he's on vacation, still working away and getting a little bit of time for us. So it's really cool. He's been in the game for the last 21 years. He's got this cool, different, unique strategy, what he calls the D.C.D, and excited to break that down in just a few minutes for you guys. But at the end of the day, we're talking about buying land and actually doing value adds to it and through entitlements and a bunch of other things that we'll learn in just a few minutes. But without further ado, Cody, how are we feeling today, man? How are you?
I'm good. I was going to tell you, I don't have too much to complain about because I rented an Airbnb here in downtown Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Yeah.
By the way, if you've never been to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho and hung out on the lake, you got to do it. But I was just going to show you. I mean, my life's not too bad because I'll show you real quick because that's my view as I'm meeting with you all.
Let's go.
And so, life's not too bad. But so, yeah, man, excited for you to have me. And we'll wrap a little bit. I would be amazed if your listeners don't learn something from this episode because no one else is talking about or teaching what it is that I do. So with that said, where do you want to start?
Yeah, man. So anybody out there that doesn't know who you are, where you're from, what you're up to, do you mind just sharing that 30,000 foot view of what you're up to these days in the last 21 years?
Yeah. So I'll just tell you this. I'll just start by this. I love Jesus, right? So
yeah,
my vision of my company is bigger today than it's ever been because I feel like the Lord has laid certain things on my heart.
Yeah.
And my company has a tremendous amount of opportunity and you'll better understand why today. And with opportunity, I'll tell you that comes responsibility, right? Sure. With opportunity comes responsibility. But the thing is there's some people that take ownership for that responsibility and there's some that don't. And I took back over the CEO of my company in January, the CEO seat. But prior to that, for several years, I was just kind of the passive founder and owner. And I realized I wasn't taking ownership for my responsibility. And, we have a vision. A mission as a company that 2027 will be our first year that we hit $1 billion in annualized sales and annual sales. And so I'm hard at work and really just trying to be a steward and I'm trying to be obedient, right? I'm trying to be obedient to a calling that's been put on me. And so like being with you all here today, right? Like for so many years, I prided myself, which was complete BS about that I hid under a rock. I wasn't in the spotlight. I didn't need anybody to know me. I didn't need the ego strokes. At the end of the day, that was just insecurity,
sure.
Right? That was actually ego in a different way, right? And so meaning I don't need that, right? And so I'm here with you today sharing the word because, hey, part of me, hitting my $1 billion in 27 is the more people know who I am and what I do, in all reality, it's going to help us accomplish the goal. So, yeah. So anyways, in the process of building a company that's going to be doing $1 billion in sales a year. And also, one of my big personal slogans is PIF. Most of you know that is paid in full. And for me, that's actually purpose, impact, fulfillment. And so that's why I started on my shirt. You'll see something that says VEST right here. That's why I started my education company 4 years ago, where I teach exactly what I do that I know of. I don't know of anybody else teaching what I teach or what I do. Like even when I was talking to Grant Cardone, a few months ago, and I said the word entitlements, he was just so, you wouldn't think Grant Cardone's humble, but he actually has a lot of humility because the first thing he said to me is, Cody, I have no clue what entitlements even is.
Yeah.
Right? And so, that's super cool. Right. And so, man, just trying to make an impact, trying to create a legacy that I can be proud of, right? As far as making a difference and just living in the spirit for sure.
I love it, man. So talk to me, what is it in land that got you, hooked to it? Nobody else is really doing it. Have you been doing that since day one or when did you actually fully go all in?
Yeah, good question. So, there's other guys out there teaching land, but they're more teaching basically had a wholesale land.
Sure.
Right.
Yep.
And in my company, please, I have a lot of friends that are wholesalers and I love you all.
Yeah.
But the word wholesale is like a curse word in my office because we believe in bringing value to the asset, right? The reason wholesalers can never make a substantial amount of money is because they bring no value to the asset, right? And at the end of the day, for the most part, not always, a wholesaler makes their money by paying someone else less than what their property is worth, right? Or their house is worth. You usually make your money on a spread. And for us, our legacy, that's just not how we want to make our money. But the way I got into it is, bro, I'll tell you, I got my high school girlfriend pregnant. Originally was going to go off to college and decided to go to the school of hard knocks and reality check. I went into the trades, actually went into the union, the flooring union.
Wow.
Because after 3 months, you qualify for full health benefits.
Yeah.
And I needed a way to be able to pay for this baby that was on the way. So I ended up being in the trades for about 5 years. Accomplished a lot of great things, just I was young and hungry and just became really good friends with a lot of my clients, which were, home builders, right? National home builders and whatnot. And so I ended up making that leap of faith, man, facing my fear, jumping into the unknown, which, by the way, I guarantee everybody that's listening to this right now, you have fear. We all have fear, right? But the thing about fear is fear's not real. Fear's not real. Danger is real. Fear's not. And the best thing we can do is face our fears, right? And we're all fearful of the unknown. Everybody's fearful of the unknown. The question is, are you going to jump in anyways? Are you going to jump into the deep end? And then you'll notice that fear will quickly dissipate because the unknown ends up not being all that scary once you jump into it. But so anyways, I jumped into it, went self-employed in 2002 and started building homes and quickly kind of ventured into the land side, right? It just made sense that if I controlled the dirt, I controlled the deal, right? And so that's where D.C.D comes from, Brandon.
Yeah.
D.C.D is dirt controls deals. So whoever controls the dirt controls the deal. Dirt is the ground floor of real estate. Every single real estate asset out there started with the dirt, right? And so I don't mean to be too long-winded here, but basically what we do is we go and we find raw land off market or on market, mainly off market, that has what's called development potential. And we then go and we take it through an approval process or a land use approval or entitlements or whatever you want to call it. And we get it approved for development.
Yeah.
Okay. And that brings a tremendous value to the marketplace.
For
That
sure.
increases the value of that asset substantially. And we used to develop the projects and build the homes and went through the Great Recession, continue to fine tune our business model. And we've really figured out that the way we can serve our country the best, the way that we can bring the most value, the way that we can serve a true purpose is just, we're comfortable at this point calling ourselves specialists or experts or calling myself an authority in that governmental approval process. We let other people now go and develop the land and build the homes.
Sure.
Right?
Now, how much are you guys averaging when it comes down to, doubling or tripling the value? Is there a percentage that, because I've seen some people in the storage unit space that are finding land like this, adding the value that way so that they can actually build, but they usually do it all in house or they get it ready to actually build and then a couple are selling it off. But I've seen them get millions for that process, right?
It's funny. One of the biggest names in the storage space, I won't say who it is, but literally just approached me about a week ago asking if as they find land deals, if they can have me go and get them entitled for them.
Yeah.
And then turn them back over to them. And so, but I'll just give you if there's anything as a listener you can get from me on this call, Brandon, I'm going to answer your question. But before I answer it, I first got to cover this.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that we are in the business of controlling real estate. We are not in the business of owning real estate. Okay. Understand that as soon as you take title to real estate, as soon as you own the real estate, you lose most of your options. Okay. You can no longer renegotiate the price. You can no longer renegotiate the terms. You can no longer walk if you need to. You know how many people right now are in the corner crying because of the market correction? Okay, because their basis is now too high in the asset because of the market correction. Well, if they controlled it versus owned it, they wouldn't be in the corner crying. Okay, let me take it a step further.
But now, how long can you truly control it for? Sometimes those contracts can actually fall out. Versus if you close on it, own it, you got the ability to sell it. The appreciation, depreciation.
Yeah. So in the land game, see, we take raw land and we get it approved for developments. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. Let's just make up a hypothetical scenario. Let's say in this area of the country, because we're nationwide, we're from West Coast all the way to East Coast, do deals all over the country, okay? But let's just make up an example. Let's just say in this particular market, as an example, that farmland's worth $10,000 an acre, okay? So as is, the farmland is worth $10,000 an acre. But I might be willing to pay those people $30,000 an acre, $50,000 an acre, in some scenarios even $100,000 an acre. So 3, 5, maybe even sometimes 10x what the as-is value of that dirt is. Okay. And so in order for me to pay, and let's just say it's 20 acres. Okay. So that property as is today is worth $200,000.
Right.
Okay. At 5x, it's worth $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so we have I grew up in a small little town called Damascus. I think it got its first street signal when I was in high school. So I'm just a basic meat and potatoes high school graduate guy, right? Like just this real basic guy, right? Simple words, no big words.
I like that.
Right. Yeah. So just whatever, I'm that guy. And so, I have this thing that if I'm going to pay for a diamond, I got to make sure it's a diamond. Okay. And it's not a diamond until it's approved, meaning that if I'm going to pay you 5 times its as is value, I can't close on it until it's approved for development, because I got to confirm it's a development. I don't give 2 shits that it's already zoned and that it's got utilities and that it's got access and the topography is great and there's no overlays. By the way, those are the 5 basic points of development potential. It could have all 5 points, boxes checked. It has development potential. Until the jurisdiction approves that development, you don't have shit. You have nothing. All you have is farmland. Let me tell you this. People say, how do you get people? So my whole thing is once I get it approved for development is when I close. Okay.
So what you do, you lock it in contract. It's going to be a long drawn out close. However, you're offering above and beyond a premium because once it is approved, you can exit out for a 5x and you can make it a huge win-win scenario.
So let's just take that deal. Let's just take that deal that we just said that I'm going to pay that property. I'm just making this shit up as we go, but
I hear you.
I'll give you the right idea how my model works. So let's just take that. Let's continue on that path. Let's take that property that's worth $1 million that I'm going to pay $1 million for. Okay. In that scenario, let's just say I put $200,000 into that deal. Okay. So I put $200,000 into that deal between entitlement costs.
Oh, for sure. City, everything.
Yeah. Earnest money and some city costs and whatnot. Let's just say I put $200,000 into it.
Yep.
And let's just say of that $200,000, let's just say $50,000 of it was earnest money applied to the price. So that means my total basis into that deal is 1.15. Okay. That's my basis. That's my total basis in that deal. Okay. Yep. I might sell that deal for $2 million. Okay. So in that scenario, I got my $200,000 back.
Yeah.
Okay. Plus I made $850,000. And the most beautiful part is that, or one of the most beautiful parts is that I used my buyer's money to pay the seller and I made my profits out of the middle because everything we do is double closing, simultaneous closings. So over the course of 18 months, I put out $200,000 and I got my 200 back. Plus I made another 850, right? So I 4.5x'd my money. Some would say, depending on how you look at it, I 5.5x'd my money because some people try to include the capital being returned as a part of the multiple. Depends on how you look at it. But that's how our model works, right? And I have even some of my students over at VestRight where I teach what I do, where they're actually getting, let's say you don't have any money, right? Well, one is we now make it to where students can partner with my company, Allied Development. So students can literally go through the VestRight course, learn the basics, actually not learn the basics at all, learn what they need to learn. And then they can partner with my company Allied and we'll capitalize the deal. We'll run it. We'll sell it, the whole deal, and we'll cut you in on the profits. But forget Allied for a second because that's not why I'm here. Why I'm here is to make a difference. But a lot of people, some of my students are having the buyer actually cash flow the entitlements, right? So the buyer is actually putting up the money for the entitlements. And so a lot of the students are coming into this business model with little to no capital. But just understand this, and I don't care what model you're doing in real estate, is if you have a good deal, you can find the money.
Sure.
Pure and simple.
So Cody, talk to me. Do you know what the average is that you guys are actually increasing land?
So that'd be 2x. That'd be about depends 2x. On how you look at it, right?
And every area is different nationwide, so it really just depends.
Yeah, and so it depends, right? And so, we don't really look at it like that, but it depends. Like I just gave you a scenario where a piece of land as is worth $200,000, and I'm selling it for $2 million 18 months later.
Yeah,
right. But what happens is that I actually pay the property owner. I might pay that property owner, I don't know, I might pay them $30,000 an acre. I might pay them, $50,000 an acre, right? So I might have paid the property owner $300 to $500 for that deal, right? So it just depends on how you look at it. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah, it does. Now, what is the average time this takes? Because I know
18 months.
18 months is average?
Yeah, 18 months is average.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. What's the longest project you've had over the years?
3 years.
Yeah.
Right. And then we have some deals that we get done in 9 months, right? It just depends.
And then I know the improvement to be able to get it that far, like all the costs involved during the 18 months, it's typically a decent amount higher than 200,000, that example that we were talking about, correct? Or is that a fair number?
No, that's definitely a fair number.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, definitely a fair number. Like our average deal at Allied, our average acquisition is give or take $4.5 million. Okay, is our average acquisition price. Okay. Our average cash into a deal is about $750,000. Okay. But understand that part of that $750,000 is the fees the fund pays to my development company to do all the work. So, a good portion of that 750, the typical operator would not have that cost, right? So let's just say that it's 400, right? And then our average exit is about 8 million. Okay. So you can do the math. So, our average exit, we're making, 2.5 to 3 million. So,
and you're a smart guy. So you ended up, instead of outsourcing everywhere, you've actually just created a sister company here and there to keep it more in-house and passed around, and probably just have the systems more that you can count on. It's all right next door, right?
Yeah. Our development company, when I mentioned the fees, funds, right? So we have funds, we have investors, right? So we have investment funds where we allow investors to share in our business model passively. And so that fund where we do all the deals, it just pays fees to my Allied development company to run the operations, right? But all the profit is realized over in the funds, right? Okay. Is how we're set up.
Yeah, I love that. So, you mentioned the 5 points to actually get this approval, right? What is that actually? I know you kind of ran through it quick, but I'm curious. I'll tell people in the group.
Yeah. Well, we'll do it real quick here. So there's much more to it than this.
For sure.
Much more to this, but just 5 basic points to get a good idea if a piece of property has development potential. The key is development potential. Yeah. Is one is zoning. Is it zoned for development, or is the jurisdiction willing to rezone it for development? So one is zoning. 2 is utilities. Does it have public utilities like sanitary, sewer, and water, right? Because if you're going to go develop it, is that you want to make sure it has public utilities. If you want to develop it with any type of density, right, is that I'm not talking about some rural development, 5-acre lots where you're putting in wells and septic tanks. That's not our business model. That's not scalable.
Sure.
But public utilities. Before I forget, just because this hit my brain and I wanted to make sure your audience knows this, is understand that this whole idea of taking raw land and turning it into approved developments, that value add business model, you can do it with any asset class. I happen to specialize in single family, multifamily residential, but you can do it in any asset class. Okay. But so then 2 is public utilities. 3 is access, public access. Is that if you're going to go develop a piece of property, you got to make sure people can get to it, right?
Yeah.
And so public access. I can't tell you how many properties will be brought to us that are landlocked. There's no way to get to them, right? So then we're trying to buy neighboring pieces and whatnot to be able to get access. Number 4 is topography, right? Some properties, are, the most beautiful type of property for a developer like myself is a flat piece of property because it costs the least to develop it and it sells for the most because it's completely usable, right? Versus upsloping property, downsloping properties. Sometimes properties, because of the topography, even though there's utilities at the property line, you can't serve the whole site with the utilities because of topography challenges.
Sure.
Okay. And then 5th and final on this basic overview is overlays. Is that a property might be zoned for development. It might have great topography. The utilities are there. It has access. But as you dig deeper, you kind of realize there's an overlay on the property, right? An environmental overlay, something like a steep, maybe a floodplain. It's in a floodplain. Like you've got to make sure to check the overlays mapping in the area to make sure it might look like this beautiful piece, but it's actually undevelopable because of some overlays that are on it.
That's good. I love that. Yeah. So those are the 5 points, basic points that you should start off with for development potential, right? And you said your bread and butter is really the residential multifamily. That's what you're looking.
Single family.
Okay.
Single family is our main thing, but we do multifamily as well.
Okay. Are you doing any commercial or is it all just okay?
Here again, going back to that guy that grew up in that small little town called Damascus, that meat and potatoes guy.
Yeah, that guy.
I just have this basic philosophy that, everybody needs a roof over their head.
Sure.
Right. They don't have to have a storage facility. They don't have to have a retail front. They don't have to have a warehouse, but they have to have a house. They have to have a roof over their head. Right. And so just that simply, that's why I do residential.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. So the residential multifamily, I would assume, I don't want to assume anything, but it's probably to a certain degree, depends on where, but a more simpler approach dealing with the city and getting the approvals that you need, correct?
Yeah. I would say industrial is the easiest, but.
Oh, really? Okay.
Single family is actually, I would say, the most complicated type of development because you got to understand most asset classes, the property pretty much is all, you keep it private, right? So where with single family, we end up running public roads all through the property. And so there's lots more challenges when you're bringing public, creating public right of ways, right? When you're creating public streets. And so single family is actually one of the more complicated land uses.
Okay. Yeah. That's unique. So talk to me, man. I know you said you're doing nationwide, but is there a certain area or location that you prefer to stay in? Or do you have just better systems in to be able to get the bigger ROI, right? Because you got some big goals, man. At the end of the day, hitting $1 billion is no joke. So a couple years away, I know you got some systems in place and people in locations that you want to hit harder than others, I'm assuming.
Sure. I'm going to answer that question. There's one more thing I just want your audience to hear is that we all know, and I promise you I'll answer that question, is that we all know that typical real estate transactions close in 30 to 60 days, right? 30 to 60 days. Cody, how in the hell do you get people to wait until approvals before you pay them? Okay. How the hell
you're offering them 3 times the amount.
That a boy. Yeah. Like the problem is they get these. I used to own a real estate firm. So what I'm about to say, I'm not dogging real estate agents. I mean, the reality is they just don't know because they're not educated because no one taught them. They don't know anything about my space. But what happens is when Billy Bob wants to sell me his property, and he talks to his friend that's a real estate agent, Mary Sue. And Mary Sue says, well, no, they should close in 30 days. It's just that she's uneducated. I can't be mad at her. She's just uneducated. Yeah. But I'll tell you this. When I go to Billy Bob and say, Billy Bob, do you want 200 today or do you want $1 million in 18 months? Can I tell you, Billy Bob in all my years has never said, I'll take the 200 today. Right. Billy Bob's always. I
believe that's because it's land too. Land, a lot of people almost set it and forget it to a certain degree, or it's left in the family and they can. It's land. It's, they have to pay for the taxes and so forth. But if they can get a real strong premium and know that it's coming in the next 18 months or so, that's something that they can bet on and feel good about, right?
Sure. Absolutely. Yep, that's right. So here again, going back to that black and white meat and potatoes basic guy, what markets am I focused on? I'm focused on markets that people want to live. Mm-hmm. Okay. Is there's more migration happening in our country right now than ever. And I'm just simply doing deals where people want to live. See, but understand, when I started out, I was doing projects that were 2, 3, 4 lots, right? Today, I really don't look at deals. Usually they're less than 100 lots. Like I'm 100 to 500 lot projects. And so for our business and our business model today at Allied, based upon, economies of scale and, what the Lord laid on us as far as what we're supposed to accomplish, for us, unless there's 3 publicly traded home builders there, it's probably not a market we want to be in, gotcha. Right? Because, majority of the time we are selling all of our projects to national home builders.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah.
So, we're in Florida, we're in, Tennessee, Georgia, right? Texas. Texas is our number 1 market. Yeah. We're in 13 states, right?
That makes sense. Cody, so you lost me at the 100 lots. You're buying 100 lots, 100 parcels basically from one seller at a time. That's what you're looking at?
No. So when we go buy a piece of land, we got to see where we can get 100 lots approved on that property.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're buying one huge, farmland basically, and then turning it into something you can build 100 homes.
We're getting it approved. That's right.
Yeah.
To where,
gotcha.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
How many people are in place within the company that if you lock up something in contract today, what kind of steps and processes does it go through within that 18-month, the high level overview, if you don't mind?
Here's the thing that's so nice is that, and I'm not saying this just to say it, I'm saying it because it's freaking true.
Yeah.
Is that I know guys and I have students and I have friends that are one-man shows. Literally no staff at all, just a one-man show. Cody, how's that possible? Well, the way that's possible is because you got to understand we outsource 90% of the work. Your civil engineers, right? They do 90% of the lifting, right? They do all the work. You're just overseeing the process. You're not actually doing the majority of the heavy lifting. And so, because when I go tie up a deal, first thing I do is a due diligence process, right? Or a feasibility study, which is the first 90 to 120 days, right? And during that, we're doing layouts and we're doing cost estimating. We're out talking to our buyers, figuring out how marketable the project is. What do we think we can sell it for? Blah, blah, blah. And then we'll go and we'll do some studies, right? If needed, we'll do like phase 1 studies, geotech studies, traffic studies, environmental studies. We don't do all those studies on every deal. It depends on the project. Yeah. Another thing to realize is no 2 projects are the same, but then we'll go prepare what's called our land use application that we're going to submit to the city. Then we go through land use approval. And then a lot of times when you get that approval, that's what's called preliminary plat approval or land use approval. And that's one of the approvals needed in the umbrella of entitlements. And that used to be the stage in which we exited right there. When the market started correcting, we went through this recent downturn. We then now have to take it through the next step of approvals of entitlements because we had to reduce our buyers' risk, right? To continue to get them to bite. We had to then agree to go ahead and do what's called the engineering approval for them or the construction drawing approval. And these are the plans that the project will actually be built upon. And so that's the next step you've got to go through. And we're doing that right now for some of our clients, but they're cash flowing. So we said, hey, we'll go get this thing, the CDs approved for you, the construction drawings approved for you, but you're cash flowing it, right? Yeah. And so, and I'll tell you, mark my words, is that I believe that the bottom for single family residential is gone. It's already passed. I think we're already on the uptick again. And so as of a week ago, I told my staff, I said, I want us to start exiting at preliminary plat approval again. I think there's enough momentum and optimism again in our space to where we can move back to exiting at preliminary plat approval again. But that was a lot and I went quickly, but that's a basic overview of the process.
Yeah, no, I love it.
But I have all of this, dude. I got tons of programs over at Best Right. I'm going to offer your audience a free gift at the end of this. I'll give you a link to where it'll dive much deeper into the model. and have a much better understanding of how this works.
Yeah, I love it, man. It sounds like there's a lot of moving pieces, but just like you said, it could be a one-man show if needed. And when you have the proper education, the right know-abouts, not every deal is going to be the same by any stretch of imagination. So it's really important to have that knowledge and know exactly what to do when, the moment comes up so that you can pivot properly, right?
I'll tell you, one of my students who's a one-man show.
Yeah.
Just made $10.1 million on one deal doing this exact business model.
Come on, man.
Yeah. On one deal.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
How long was he in that deal for?
That deal took him a while. That deal, he was in that deal, I think like 2.5 years.
Yeah, but I mean, come on, 2.5 years,
Yeah, show me. Dude, he was a home builder, wholesaler, fix and flipper, all different stuff, right?
Sure.
Built, numerous homes a year, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
He made more on one deal than he made his whole 20-year career as a real estate
His whole life. Yeah.
Yep.
And so a lot of these contracts that you're teaching other people how to get, but also yourself, you're not, fronting the cost to be able to get the entitlements and add the value. A lot of this you're actually getting, I'm sure once you get to the point where you have the money and you can negotiate, you don't mind putting up the money, but a lot of this, you're just leveraging the end buyer to actually cover some of this and take on that investment, that risk, right?
Some of our students do that, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's one of our ninja strategies where you get your buyer to put up the money.
That's definitely a ninja strategy for sure.
Yeah, we don't do that just because we feel like you lose some leverage.
Yeah,
and we have the capital. But yeah, whether it's friends, whether it's your own capital, friends and family, you bring in an investor. Remember, whenever you have a good deal, you can always find the money, whether you bring in an investor as a partner, or maybe you just want to tee up the deal and send it over to my company, Allied Development, and we'll run the whole thing and capitalize the whole thing and sell it. If you find a good deal, there is no reason why you can't get it done, because I just told you, literally, you could turn it over to Allied and they'll run it and capitalize it and sell it. Like a student recently brought us a deal and we ran it, capitalized it, sold it. And I had the privilege of handing that guy a check for over $600,000.
Come on.
Right. And so, and he was working full time at his church, right? Like it changed his life forever.
Yep. Yeah, man, that's incredible. I love that. And I mean, there's multiple ways to skin the cat here and be able to get it. But I mean, we even teach people how to get up to 500,000 at 0% interest. And so if you only need on average, 200,000 is 0% interest for the next 18 months to 22 months, you got the options right there. So this is powerful stuff, man. I love it. And it's exciting to see where you're looking to take this. What about the education portion? I know what you're trying to get to $1 billion within the own company, but the impact that you're making on others so that they can repeat the process and do it for them, their family, their community, really. I mean, one guy just got 10 million. That's not a bad payday, right?
That's right. Yeah. I think a lot of people, let me say a couple things to you real quick, Brandon, is that I get really tired when someone points at that person. Oh, that guy or that gal is really successful. Right? And they say he's successful because he makes a lot of money, or he's a CEO, or he's whatever it is, right? It's usually about money. That guy's super successful, and it's always about fucking money. Yeah. Right? At the end of the day, that is one pillar of success, right? Like
1,000%.
Like if you go to my website, codybjugan.com, you'll see that one of my slogans on there, one of my sayings, and it's actually on my bracelet right here, is one legacy. Is that, Brandon, you have one legacy, I have one legacy, and every decision we make, every move we make or don't make affects our one legacy of every single moment of every single day, right? And so, but on there, I cover the different pillars of creating a solid legacy, right? And so, I won't get into them all, but my point is there's many pillars of life to be truly successful. And so for me, and knowing that and believing that, my other bracelet says PIF, purpose, impact, fulfillment. And so, me deciding to teach what I've learned over my career, it has been a privilege, right? Because I think the word happy is bullshit, Brandon. I think the word happy is temporary. What we're all searching for is fulfillment, whether we know it or not. And I don't think true fulfillment is possible without having an impact in the world, right? And so go figure out a purpose you could serve.
Yep.
You'll have an impact through it. And through that impact, you'll find fulfillment. It is what it is. And so by me starting VestRight, the education company, VestRight, dude, I'm making an impact, man. I'm a part of changing people's lives. Like, it gets me emotional. Like when I handed that guy that check for $610,000, I had tears in my eyes, right? When I was interviewing Mike Foley, who made $10 million on one deal, he's crying and I'm crying. Like that's where the magic is.
Yeah, that's like the beginning of generational wealth. It really starts setting people up for just life-changing experiences.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it, Cody, man. I couldn't agree more. I'm just pumped for you, brother. It's really such a blessing to be able to have you on today. You just added so much value to me and my listeners. What could we do to be able to, add value back to you? And then afterwards, if you don't mind just plugging in how people can get a hold of you and any resources that you have.
Perfect. Good question. I appreciate you asking what you can do for me. What you can do for me is just take action, right? I don't care if it's my model or someone else's model or my teachings, my education or someone else's. Just take action. The best thing you could do for me is just take action. Is that, I hate fear. Now, we all have it, including myself. But if I could figure out a way to remove fear, right? Like what a blessing that would be is that just face fear right in the face and just kick its ass.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I have another saying of mine called believe, action, faith. Believe in yourself, believe in whatever it is that you're wanting to accomplish. Go take action. And at the end of the day, realize you're not in control. And the majority of the equation is faith, right? And realizing that if you try to control everything, mark my words, you'll never have a life of peace. Is that if you want a shot in hell of peace in your life, you better figure out how to start exercising your faith muscle. But if you want to learn more about, me or my company, you can go to CodyBjugan.com. You can go to my education company, VestRight.com. You can go to Cody Bjugan or VestRight on, Facebook or Instagram, whatever. But I do have a free gift for your audience. If they go to Cody Gives Back, let me say that again, CodyGivesBack.com/Brandon Elliott. There's a free gift there for you all. A couple of things you're going to get by going there. One is I'm going to give you a playbook/ebook. Where I hate the name of the ebook, by the way. I want my team to change it, but it's called like 7-Figure Land Paydays, right? But I hate that title. But at the end of the day, it shows you we go much more in depth about our business model. We can do some case studies with you. Like, mark my words, you'll go through that playbook and you'll come out the other side much more knowledgeable. The second thing I offer at Cody Gives Back is a calculator where I actually walk you through a deal, the calculations of it, and I show you how it is that we make 7 figures per deal, every deal. Like, I won't even look at a deal unless I can make 7 figures on it. And so we show you how that's possible.
I love that. Giving the blueprints away to the audience. That's awesome, man. I greatly appreciate that. So guys, make sure that you check that out. It's CodyGivesBack.com/Brandon Elliott. And you'll be able to get both of those. That's amazing. I truly appreciate it. Yeah, I was going to say, touching based on the fear thing, we all have it. I'm a firm believer. Fear, just like you said, it really comes from the lack of faith and then the lack of education, right? When you get the proper education, and the ins and outs, and there's going to be some things that are out of our control that we don't know, right? And that's where the faith comes in. And at the end of the day, without those two pieces right there, there's going to be a hell of a lot of fear that's holding us back. And if you could just meet it head on, because like you said, 90% of it's all BS and just made up, and none of it's actually really going to come forth and come true. So it's really just trying to defer you from your full potential. So stay 100%. Away from that. Yeah.
You put faith and fear in the ring.
Yeah.
Faith will win every time.
Every time.
Okay. Also, if you're not uncomfortable, you're not growing.
Yeah. It's true.
Get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Get uncomfortable. Like, make a habit of being uncomfortable.
That's good, man. I love it. Well, guys, make sure that you reach out to Cody. Just a wealth of knowledge and great resources. So I'm excited to dig into that myself. And I mean, he just gave you basically a 7-figure blueprint right there, how to make money on a regular basic, turnover. So make sure that you're reaching out to Cody, show him some love, reach out, support him. And then if you want to get a hold of me, you can always do so on Instagram. It's Brandon Elliott Investments, otherwise Facebook.com/Brandon Elliott Investor. And if you're looking to be able to get some capital, learn how to basically get the banks to say yes more and get up to $500,000 at 0% interest and doing it every 6 months. The 0% interest is anywhere from 6 months to 22 months. You'll get a big stack of cards like this that you can actually be able to put into real estate and liquidate so that you can grow and scale your business and flip land even and value add. So if you're looking to check that out, go to creditcounselelite.com. That's www.creditcounselelite.com. Make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. I don't know what you're waiting for. Make sure you hit that so you get the newest notification every Monday. And then leave that 5-star review. Greatly appreciate all the love, all the support. You guys are amazing. Till next time, God bless. See you, Cody.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, God bless.